Good morning. Thanks for joining in. We are working our way through Recover in Color. And today's lesson that we're on is called Don't Wrestle with Pigs. This will be the drawing that you do. Here we go. And I'll show you my completed drawing, colored drawing. Recover in Color is a workbook where there's a portion of a lesson, then the coloring page, then 4 questions and a song. So we're going to work through this together. Thanks for joining in today. Appreciate that. The lesson comes from a famous quote by George Bernard Shaw, who famously said, "I learned long ago never to wrestle with a pig. The pig likes it, and you get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it." So the actual quote is, "I learned long ago never to wrestle with the pig. You get dirty, and besides, the pig likes it." Many of us have done our fair share of pig wrestling. We took the bait, we got sucked into an argument, our hearts pounded, and we entered the ring. The tone of our voice got sharp, the volume of our voice got louder, our feathers got ruffled. And we went in where the action was, which was in the ring with the pig. Maybe we even felt alive in the struggle and the skirmish of it, and we just scrapped around a little bit. And mostly these were verbal arguments, although some people have thrown actual punches and maybe even just like punched a wall or broken something of their own. But there was an energy that happened, and usually it's sort of that pig that likes the mud, likes the wrestling, that led us down that little path of fury. No one wins in the argument. Nobody wins in a wrestling match, and the emotional mud, is hard to wash off. Some of us will flash back to a pig wrestling match emotionally, and we'll flood with those same feelings of fury and frustration that we even let ourselves get into the ring. Sometimes it's a parent with a dissatisfied child, or it's the spouses, or somebody at work, a customer if you're in customer service. And hurtful words get said, and they cut deep, and sometimes they run on repeat in our mind. And even when the wounds get healed, we walk around kind of scarred with some of those bad wrestling matches. And some of us have done wrestling with different people because we wanted to stand up for something that was unfair. Maybe we wanted to retaliate, or maybe there was just anger oozing out of us and something provoked us, and all of that unsettled business that we thought we had done away with was somehow activated, and we were provoked, and then suddenly there was just this outlet for things inside of us. In a healthy relationship, we do have the freedom to be assertive and to express ourselves authentically, because a healthy relationship will allow for and maybe even foster a differing opinion, a different viewpoint. That safe relationship can accommodate if you have a poorly formed idea, or if your opinion fluctuates back and forth. Maybe you think this way, maybe you're undecided, you're just talking out loud, working things out. You may have heard only bits and pieces of a story, or a political argument or something, so you think one way. In a safe relationship, you can have these sort of discussions, and a safe relationship would create and honor growth for both people on both sides. And a lot of times we do need breathing room to figure out where we stand on something, especially, to those teenagers who are watching. You need a safe and healthy relationship with a parent or a teacher or a coach or a friend that you can go back and forth with. And that has to be a safe relationship. But this lesson, which is called Don't Wrestle with Pigs, is about when you know that somebody's unsafe. You know that they're trying to trigger you. They're trying to bait you into a wrestling match. Those are where you have to really be careful, and hopefully think of this quote or this lesson, Don't Wrestle with Pigs, and the George Bernard Shaw quote. Because if the relationship is unsafe, they're not wanting you to have a safe space to develop an argument and to discuss points and to open a dialogue. They just aren't. They're looking for, they want to pin you down just like in an actual wrestling match, even though I'm talking about emotions and relationship, not physically wrestling with you. The lesson, let me go down to it, says to improve your relationship discernment, meaning is this safe? Is this a safe relationship for me to speak what I want to say? Look for clues of the safety of the person that you're dealing with. I'm going to mix metaphors a little bit, but in the Bible, Jesus he makes a warning, and he says, behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. So whether we're using an analog of the pig or a wolf in sheep's clothing, you want to be careful. You want to be as wise as a serpent and as gentle as a dove. Because unsafe people, whether we're using the metaphor of pigs or wolves, unsafe people will be sarcastic, aggressive, dogmatic, which means like they think one way is absolutely the right way. An unsafe person would be nitpicking, disrespectful, bullying, stubborn, always right, blame shifters, and scorekeepers. They want the competitiveness in the relationship. You will sense almost that they enjoy an argument and that they want to win at all cost. Let us develop skills this week at knowing when we are being goaded into the mud by a pig, metaphorical pig, so that we can stay out of the ring. We would only get dirty, and the person goading us in would enjoy the tussle. If you sense the howl of a wolf on the horizon, run your sheepish self for the hills. In other words, there are people that want to kind of bait you in. Sometimes this happens on social media. Someone puts a provocative post and they're just hoping that you take the bait and blast the opposite opinion. You think they're so wrong, you want to correct them. And it says, if Jesus suggested that we be wise and harmless, we should spend time this week meditating on what that looks like in our own very lives. So under the personalize this lesson, we'll go through these. Think this. Rarely will a heated argument change another person's mind. But a heated argument is a sure way for me to lose my peace. I really need to think about that. Do I get into a back and forth heated argument? Does the person at the end, after voices are raised and words are said, do they say, you were right and I'm glad we did this? I was completely wrong and you're completely right. People don't say that. Think there are triggers and traps set to draw me out of harmony and into an argument. Think I am aware. I am in control to resist any argument that would steal my peace. Feel. I feel comfortable holding a different opinion, without needing to defend it, or in other words, which I do not need to defend. I can hold a different opinion than you, and I just need to let it sit right there. I think differently. I can feel safe in that. I feel content to let every argument pass by me. I feel free from the urge to engage in emotional wrestling. Do avoid useless arguments. Do be on the lookout for pigs who just want to wrestle. You may want to do a little inventory of your relationship and think that person tends to be they're egging me on. They like to get their little digs in and try to get me ruffled. And then our little memory verse under Don't Wrestle with Pigs is, do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. That comes out of the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 7, verse 6. So we've heard that, don't cast your pearls before swine, but it's also saying, do not give what is holy to the dogs. And by holy in this, the way I'm using this verse in the metaphor, is your sacred space of your deepest feelings, your emotions, your opinions, and even your your undecidedness on a topic. You don't have to give that over to the dogs, so to speak, to somebody that you know is going to trample you. The King James Version says, lest they turn and rend you, meaning don't throw your pearls before swine lest they turn and rend you, meaning you're going to give something that's precious and personal, and they could attack you. So you don't want to do that. This is a warning. Now, let's go over to our discussion questions and see what we have. First question, what has been your experience with wrestling with pigs? Describe. So I wrote, my experience is that I end up feeling frustrated, feeling caught and trapped that I have to react and have to do something in that moment, and then later rehashing it in my mind, feeling kind of ashamed that I took the bait or got into the depths of a discussion with somebody that I knew had a different opinion than me. And I can't undo it, can't unsay the words. So there is a term called reactive abuse, which is when someone's kind of egging you on and then you react and then they blame shift and point out, well, why are you didn't have to get that upset about it. Gosh, I was just kidding. You can't even take a joke. And then they've turned the tables on you, and you're left kind of holding the manure like, I'm not the one who started it. That's called reactive abuse. And so you want to be careful, you want to be aware of it. And if there's things that you've done and you've gotten yourself into that, you have to let yourself off the hook. I would recommend visualizing a hook. You feel like you've hung yourself up on it, and then visualize yourself pulling yourself off that hook. All right, number 2. In your life, what does it look like for you to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove? It's a very interesting Bible verse that when Jesus is saying, behold, I'm sending you out as sheep among the wolves, so be as wise as a serpent and gentle as a dove. So if you think about we don't tend to use it as a compliment to a serpent. We don't think like, oh, be like a snake. But in this case, Jesus's point is that a serpent, think about it, they're holding their poison. They don't come at you like a barking dog. They're watchful, they're kind of careful, and they're waiting, and they tend to have just like one effective strike. So Jesus is saying, be kind of hesitant, patient, observing, know that if you're gonna have to use the venom or use the strike, you want to be calculated in it. And then he's saying, and be as gentle as a dove. And a dove, in a sense, we just see a dove and you know that they're a peace preferring animal. They prefer peace. So the Lord is telling us literally in one sentence, like he knows he's sending us out. He knows that we're vulnerable like sheep, and he knows there are wolves out there. And then he gives you the little wisdom. Be like this. Be wise and careful. Be watchful, and also be gentle as a dove. Have a preference. Let it be seen in you that you have a preference for peace. You want to be harmless. You want to come as a person who's like approaching something of, my hands are up, I have no weapon inside. All right, number 3, do you have an unsafe person in your life, and describe your interactions with that person? So mostly my answer now, currently 2024, is no, I don't have an unsafe person in my life, thankfully now, but I have. And my interactions with that person when I was walking in wisdom would have been careful and kind, coming in love, holding my peace, very boundaried. I'm not going to change them. They get to be a wolf. Jesus is basically saying there will be wolves, and P.S., they'll be wearing sheep's clothing, so you won't know. So he's like, be careful. So I want to come in love. I want to come in peace. But you also don't cast your pearls before the swine. You don't put what is holy before the dogs. You're not an open book with everybody. You're careful. You're observing, but you have the confidence of the love of God in you. You have the confidence of walking in peace as a peaceful person. Last question, what two strategies can you do this week to avoid wrestling with pigs? And it has an example of let arguments pass you by. This could be helpful in a work environment, in a family, if you're parenting a teenager through those difficult, kind of challenging, rebellious phases. Let the arguments pass by. You don't have to respond to and have the last word on everything. That's a strategy. The two that I put for me, and I know that I still need to do this, I need to sit still in God's love. If I'm going to be a person who is not looking for wrestling matches in the emotional realm, and with the way the world is kind of divisive with different things, everyone thinks you have to have an opinion. You seem to be, it seems to be like that you have to have an opinion about everything. Well, my strategy is to sit in God's love, to rise above it in a sense, to be seated in heavenly places or rooted in rivers of the river of living water, where I don't have to get into the mix with everything. I mean, it is a good strategy that you can be agnostic or neutral about certain topics of like, I don't know, I'm still open. I'm kind of mixed up about different things. People on this side feel that, and there's some good points, and people over here feel this way, and that kind of washes and neutralizes some things out when you can speak to both sides of a position. And then my other strategy that I put in the answer key, or my answer key book, is just not playing. If there seems to be an argument or there's something going on, I'm just like, I don't know, you got me. No opinion, no clue, no idea, don't know enough about it. So you win because you didn't enter, you didn't play the game. All right, and the last song, or the song for this week that you can put on repeat, is a song by We Are Messengers, and it's called Maybe It's Okay. And that's a great song. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing. Keep your emails coming to me as you're working through the book. I really appreciate hearing from you, and I'm proud of you for working on your stuff. Thank you. See you next time. Bye-bye.